Alright, so before we move on to the next part here, which will be the hands, detailing the hands, or not detailing the hands, but just getting the hands up to snuff here, I just want to show you this really quickly. If you press Z to get out the spotlight, okay, and then you press the paint button, what you can do is hold down Alt and then paint away, okay, and you can just paint normally and it'll paint over white. So you guys should know that by now. But what you can also do is hold down Control Alt, okay, so Control and Alt, and you see this little save icon pop up, and if you click and drag, you'll now notice that it's painting away the background. Okay, so Control Alt click and drag, and that there will paint away the background. So now you've just got this piece which is visible, right, and then you can just scale that and move that. Now you might ask, why didn't I do it for this piece? But yeah, there's a way to do it, but here it's going to be a little bit of a mission. So that's just one way to really quickly get in the, or get out the background from your image if you want. Just a little cool tip there for that. Okay, but anyway, like I said, we're moving on to the hands next, and the thing with hands is that, let me actually do this. So, right, so the thing with the hands is that when we're detailing them, we give it this much time. Because it's a small entity, the amount of time we give it is the same amount that, it's just how small it is, so we give it that same amount of time, okay? So the size and the time we allocate are the same, right? But the same thing goes for the torso. The size and the time are roughly the same. Okay, same thing for the legs, right? Same thing for the, and the head. Maybe the head is probably the only thing. So the size and the time we allocate to this is probably this much, right? So around about that much. But for the hands, the size is this, but the time we need to allocate needs to be about that much. Okay, so triple, even quadruple what we actually need. So that there is what we need to keep in mind. So the amount of time you spend on the torso or even the head is kind of the amount of time you need to spend on the hands. And why is that? And that's because the hand has okay, you've got a palm, you've got a thumb, you've got fingers, okay, and well, in this case it only has 3 fingers, so we'll draw in 3 fingers, okay, like that. And each finger is its own entity, okay, the thumb is its own entity, and the palm is its own entity. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, 5 entities, so 5 pieces, if I can draw that. 5 pieces, okay, that we need to worry about, okay, and if it's a normal hand, then we've got 6, because we've got 5 fingers and the palm, which is a total of 6. So that's the secret with sculpting hands or drawing hands or painting hands or whatever. You need to treat it with just a little bit more patience, okay, because it's a small entity. Don't just think, okay, I need to assign this much time to it because it's so small. It needs to be assigned a little bit more time, because even though it is a very small piece, it has quite a bit of detail to it, or just more to it, okay, because like I said, you've got the palm, you've got the fingers, okay, and there's quite a bit more to it. So you can think of it as each finger being one arm and the palm being like the torso maybe, right? So that type of detail. So that's the secret. Just allocate more time to it. Don't waste time just, you know, fumbling about, but just make sure that you allocate the time to it, because if you allocate too little time, all your hands, they won't look too good, okay? So I'm actually going to show you the sculpt really quickly here, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. Alright, so here we have a speed sculpt that I did in ZBrush, and this took pretty much 3 hours to do, okay, maybe 3 hours 15 minutes, roughly. But because it's a speed sculpt, as you can see with the hands, right, there's not too much detail and it looks pretty bad. But because I only had 3 hours to do it, I couldn't spend too much time on it, right? I had to look at the bigger picture. I had to get the coat in, I had to get the eyes, I really had to get the expression, I had to get the hat, the sword as well, right, not too great. But again, 3 hours to do all this, that's quite a bit. So what I did after that is I worked a little bit on the sword and on the hands, and as you can see, the hands are a lot better here. I didn't put too much time into it again, but it's definitely looking a lot better than, and I also rendered this in Blender. This was rendered in ZBrush, right? So you can definitely tell the difference. So not only is the render better, but you can look at the hands, okay, and look at the sword. Just a little bit more time. It's not like I don't know how to sculpt hands. I do, it's just takes up so much time that even though you know how they work, it can be a little bit of a hassle. And in this case, getting it to kind of look like skull and or skeleton and a little bit of flesh, that kind of took a little bit of time. So that's all it is, a little bit of time and knowledge. It doesn't matter how much you sculpt, you are gonna have to know a little bit about the actual structure of the hand and how things work. So yeah, that's just kind of what we're gonna do next. Okay, so I know you guys may or may not know about how to sculpt hands, but let's get into it. So again, our resolution here should be around about 500. Yeah, so let's go 500, and let's see how many points we have. We have about 7,000 points. I think that's too little. So we've got 3 here, and then we've got the thumb. Okay, so let's not forget about the thumb, because we can't actually see it in the picture. or you can see on my mini guy there that we actually have it. So let's get into that. Let's go for the damn standard here, and while we're here, let's make the divisions and spotlight projection. Again, if you forgot, spotlight projection is under brush, and then samples, and then spotlight projection, which is down here. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring that down here, just divide it up. So the middle finger should be the largest, and then the pinky, obviously on this side, should be the smallest. For now, that's okay. I just want to divide it up just to kind of get a feel for it, and then we can start going in and getting, you know, just a little bit more. So let's do that, and let's actually go into solo mode. Right, and again with the fist, we have some knuckles here, so let's actually use the move brush, and these knuckles aren't too obvious, so we're not going to make them like that. But it's actually quite sharp here, right? So your fingers obviously aren't sharp, but this is a stylized version, so we can kind of exaggerate things. And it's pretty rounded here, but your fist is not that rounded, so let's maybe push this out here a little bit, pull it out, and then pull this one out here as well. So there's a little bit of a slant this way, okay, and again we want that to line up with the rest of our fist. And remember, we are taking our time with this. And this is the lay-in part, so we don't have to take too long with it. But we definitely don't want to rush it. Like I said, that's pretty much the weakness of everyone. They just rush the hands. And I think because it's so small, they realize, or they don't realize, that you need to allocate more time to it. Because it's so small, they don't. And that's where the problems lie. And of course, the actual construction and knowledge of the hand is important. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So we've got the knuckle. And then we've got one finger here, or with the next knuckle here. And then we've got another pair. So I think here what I did was I have a knuckle, and then the end of the finger. So we only have 2 knuckles here, unlike with our actual hands we've got 3. So let's actually stick with my original concept. Okay, so we'll make it like that. So, and every time I pause here, I'm just looking at my own hand, right? Because you need to use references, and we have our own hands in front of us. So we can use that. And if you're uncomfortable looking at your hand every time, because to make a fist and then look at it, you can definitely download a reference of a fist. That should be pretty easy. And I'm making sure I'm working on the right hand, which is this one here. So we can see, let's just bring this down a little bit. So mask it, control, click and drag. And remember, the masking is BM, and I am using the mask pen, or the mask lasso rather, not the mask pen. Let's control click outside, let's press W, alt click. I just want to blur that first, and then bring this down a little bit. So that should be fine. And next, let's do the same thing with this piece, okay, and we'll just pull this out like this. Okay, we can just re-dynamesh that, and we can probably pull it out just a little bit more. So bring that down. Okay. And that might be a little too much, so let's see. I mean, you know, if we look at his hands are actually quite big, so they are comically big. But that makes sense because it is a caricature at the end of the day. So we can scale this with W. Because maybe bring this out here a little bit. So maybe there. Trying to have a look at the connection of the wrist. I mean, it should be roughly in the middle, but again, we are kind of dealing with a caricature here, so that should be good enough for now. We can try and just bump that up later. So for now, I think that's pretty good. Again, no one's going to see this. Well, they technically will, because in the original sculpt, right, I have a cart in the way, right, so like that, so no one's actually going to see anything. But with this one, we are. So we are going to have to kind of resolve some things here. Okay, but for now, let's go back to the damn standard, and again, taking our time, right? I'm going to hold down Alt, click and drag just to make that a little bit sharper. Okay, and you see there's a little bit of a shadow or change in shading there. So I think that is because there's a plane change. I could be wrong, but we will make the plane change, why not? And same thing here, holding down Alt, clicking and dragging. Again, if you don't like to hold Alt, just switch to Z add and that will add for you. Okay, and I think now is a good time to definitely bump up the resolution. Again, you want to go to Z sub and not Z add. Right, so click, hold on shift, drag, let go of shift, do that. Okay, making these really square because that's kind of what we're seeing there. So just trying to square them out a little bit with the damn standard, and also pushing in with the damn standard, just to getting these separations here. Pressing 1 a few times to repeat the stroke. Remember, repeat stroke is under stroke, modifiers, and repeat, replay last. Actually, no, it's not repeat last, but replay last. Okay, so the hands are not looking too bad. The middle piece is obviously a lot thicker, so let's actually get this index out here a little bit. Okay, giving it a little bit of a taper as well. Okay, I think that looks better, but we can just make this a little bit smaller. I'm just massaging that into place. And because we've got tendons on our hands, why not put them here? So I'm gonna click, shift, let go of shift, click, shift, drag, let go of shift. Okay, let's get that in there a few times, and again, just to represent those tendons. Okay, and yeah, we're pretty much there. So yeah, I don't want to go too detailed with the hands just yet. We'll get to that because everything else is not on this level, so we don't want to go to that level. Okay, here the crease of your hand actually points towards your knuckle, by the way. If you do that on your own hand, you'll see that. Okay, points towards your knuckle. And here we can just do this. Just kind of get that crease in there. Okay, again, the crease is going to point towards the knuckle. Okay, don't do this. Okay, that's not going to make any sense. I mean, sometimes you'll get a crease doing that, but it won't be the main crease. The main crease is what points to the knuckle like that. Okay, building out some form with the damn standard, and then the clay build up just to push in here a little bit. Okay, now again, on my model, you can't actually see the side because he's holding the cart. But here we can, so we might want to detail it just a little bit, just to show people that we are not too lazy. Okay, so I'm just going to dig in there with a damn standard. So I think that's pretty good for now, right, in terms of what we want for, right, to get it up to the detail of everything else. And for this, we will just kind of move it up a little bit, just so it kind of looks like it's merging with the hand here. Not too much, but just so we have that shape a little bit. Okay, and let's use the standard brush here, and let's isolate this. Control Shift, click and drag. Okay, that's the select lasso, which is BSL, I think. It's one of them, you'll find it there. You guys should be used to selecting brushes by now. Okay, this here is the palm, right? We've got like 2 little pieces on our palm there. 2 fatty pads, basically. Again, I forgot which hand this is, so let me select the right hand. Okay, so this is where the thumb goes, over here. Oh yeah, we haven't put the thumb in yet, but we'll do that. Let's actually do that next, because I know I'm going to forget about it. So we'll put the thumb in, and then we'll be done with this. So, for the thumb, something that I haven't been doing is reusing a lot of my geometry here. So let's actually do that. Let's reuse geometry which is something I do a lot. If you want to see me doing that, just go to one of my speed sculpt videos and you will see me do that in spades. Okay, so let's duplicate this. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure it's the hand selected, and you can either duplicate it here or you can press Ctrl-Shift-D. Okay, there it is there, and I'm just going to rename that to the thumb. The thumb is also a curious creature because it is very different from the other fingers. The other fingers you can pretty much copy and paste them and then move them around, which I wouldn't really recommend, by the way, because it's good practice to, practice each finger. But once you've got it on lockdown, you can definitely copy it. But as a beginner, I would not recommend that. So for the thumb, I'm going to go into solo mode, which is still our hand, by the way, because we've got two hands. We've got the main hand and the duplicate, which we just call thumb. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to take Control-Shift, click and drag. We're going to delete hidden. Okay, delete hidden is under, that's shortcut 2, by the way, and then delete hidden is under geometry, modify topology, and then delete hidden, which is right here. So as you can see, shortcuts are a lot better than going through your menus, which is a nightmare. And let's dynamesh that, and this should happen. Okay, and not really a thumb shape now, but we'll get that in a second. So let's do that. Okay, let's press W, okay, and then move this. So we want to kind of have it do that because he's wrapping over, so his thumb is actually going to bend all the way this way, right? Kind of like a claw position, so like there maybe. I'm just going to have a look at my own hand here, and it doesn't go all the way 180, but it's pretty close, so we'll keep it at this angle. I think that's a pretty good angle there. Okay, we'll rotate it this way, and then push that in there. So maybe around about there. Okay. See, and that already looks pretty good. And well, it looks pretty bad, but we will sort that out. Right now the rest of his body is killing me here, so what I want to do is actually go into... trying to think of the easiest way to do this. Let's just hide the head actually, and I think, yeah, that'll probably be the easiest one. And the legs, yeah, okay. That should be fine. And we can just move this into place next. Okay, so we want to push this down a little bit because your thumb is right a little bit different from the rest of the fingers. It's actually very different. Okay, and for that one, let's actually do this and invert that, and let's just rotate this, and I'm trying to think how far I want that. So maybe alt click on this and rotate that up, so there maybe. Yeah, so if we look at this thumb here, it's kind of doing this, and I have mine. That one there is less anatomically accurate. So maybe there. Yeah, I think that's pretty good for now. Let's see what we have. It's not too bad. Okay, let's have a look at it on this side, and here it needs to merge with the palm, so we can't have anything looking too weird. So let's go back to our palm here, or our hand. Alt click on that. Okay, that should kind of poke out a little bit, but not too much, so maybe there. So around about that much, right? Again, it shouldn't poke out too much. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better. So something like that. Maybe we can give it a little bit of an angle here. So there, should be fine. Okay, and because we did work on the other fingers, let's actually work on this one a little bit more. So as you can see, instead of recreating it from scratch, we just copy the other fingers, or one finger, and then we reused it. Okay, so let's go to the damn standard and then bring this out. Let's give it that second plane change that we see there. Not really much of a plane change yet, it's technically on the same plane, but we can sort that out if we want later. Okay, we can get to the intricacies later, but for now, as long as it just looks like it's a thumb and kind of doing a thumb's job, we can leave it that way. Okay, just getting in that crease there. Again, it faces the knuckle. We haven't done too much with the knuckles actually, so what we can do is take the standard brush and then just bump out these knuckles here like that. But again, these knuckles are actually quite sharp, so we don't, on a human knuckle, that's what it looks like, right? So maybe here, just a little bit. And I might not keep this. Yeah, let's undo that actually, I don't like that. Undo, and yeah. Control Shift Z, by the way, is to redo. Undo is Control Z, obviously. Okay, and here what we do have is just a little bit of a concavity with our thumb, right, from the knuckles. So it kind of looks like that almost. By the way, this menu keeps coming up because I right click and I move. And you can also hold spacebar to get this menu out, which I think I did cover. And always use this for the intensity and the focal shift. And yeah, oh yeah, the Z add and Z sub is here as well. You don't have to go up here. But I always forget about that, so you always see me going up there. But anyway. Right, so a little bit of a concavity there. Concavity is like a cave, it goes in. Convexity is coming out. Okay, so convexity would be that, and concavity would be that. Okay, but for now, yeah, I think that's pretty good. So we don't want to go too detailed. We can switch our legs back on, and we can switch this back on. By the way, this view count just enables how many subtools you can see, that's all. Right, so if I put it on like 20 or something, you can see 20. I think the default's 8. So yeah, that's just what that slider does in case you're wondering. So yeah, I think that is, like I said, pretty good. And again, we can pop symmetry or perspective on. Shortcut is P for perspective. That's looking pretty good. So get back out of perspective. We can actually get into perspective at this point if we wanted to. And next, let's actually move on to this loincloth, because we've got everything except for the tusks and the loincloth and the horns there. But yeah, that's about it. So let's move on to the loincloth next. And yeah, for your homework, actually really quickly, what I want you guys to do is just get used to the intensities, okay, and the focal shifts. Try and see what that does to each brush. It's a bit late for that now, actually, now think about it, but better late than never. And you should be kind of, I mean, you get used to it over time. You're not going to get used to it after an hour of using it. It's just one of those things. So get used to the focal shift, okay, and the intensity, which can be found here, right, or spacebar. This will bring up this menu. And next, get used to the lazy radius, okay, so lazy radius, lazy mouse, lazy radius, just to use that, and in conjunction with your repeat step, which is shortcut 1 or stroke, and then, oh, lazy mouse is here, by the way, stroke, lazy mouse, lazy radius. And then for your modifiers, you can say replay last, which is the shortcut 1, which will replay, right, the same stroke over and over again. So there's that, and we can undo that. So yeah, that's it. Just get used to the intensity, the focal shift, get used to using the lazy mouse and lazy radius, and get used to using the replay last, which is shortcut 1. Okay, so just do that for your homework and just draw out some lines basically. Oh, and one more thing. If you hold down, let me just switch this off. If you click, hold down shift, drag, let go of shift, just try and get used to that movement as well for your homework. So just a few things there, just to get used to, right? So about 4 things that you have to do. So just draw some lines, try and draw some straight lines, either by holding down shift, letting go, or by using the lazy mouse, right, which will definitely help you out if you're pretty unstable with your strokes. That's no problem. And yeah, so just get used to that. And next we'll move on to the loincloth, and then we'll get some of the tusks in as well, just to kind of complete that. And then after that, we're going to move on probably to just posing and making sure that, you know, everything is the way we want it to be. And then yeah, it's a bit late. Usually you want to do that in the beginning, but I'm pretty lazy, so that's a bad habit of mine. But we'll get into that after we've done all that. So I'll see you in the next section. Alright, so I know I said we were going to deal with the loincloth next, but let's actually get these proportions and scaling out of the way, just so it's dealt with, right? And also I don't want to teach you guys any bad habits here. So let's actually Z, right, just to get out the spotlight, okay, and then we can click on this tile selected here, and that will just make this bigger and make this one smaller automatically for us. So let's just have a look at what we have here, and then, right, just to kind of see there, and his head is turned a little bit in this one. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. Again, we can push it a little bit more. Actually, I did push it quite a bit here, but I think that's fine because given where his arms are, you know, how it's resting. So I think that's fine, and if you want to, you can definitely move it back a little bit. You know, just maybe here. So not that much, like here maybe. Right, I guess that just depends, but I kind of like it's like it's almost broken, right, the pose. Kind of like that. So I'll keep that, and then the legs, just to balance it out, we can move the legs a little bit back, so around about there maybe. Yeah, I don't know, I'm thinking I kind of like that, so yeah, maybe let's move the legs back like that. And the feet, right, if the gizmo is here somewhere, you don't see it on screen, you can just alt click and that will just bring it back. Let's scale this up a little bit to give his feet a little bit of thickness. The feet we're not too worried about, right? Not really the most important thing right now. And that should be fine there. Here you'll notice that the knuckles are doing the opposite bit. That's because when I was sculpting this one, I was looking at my right hand and sculpting the left hand, and I forgot this was the left. So that's why that looks like that, by the way. This one here is the correct version that we're doing here. Okay, so that should be fine there, and yeah, I like this. Again, that rhythm is pretty good here. So we've got that S curve coming down here. And just to really exaggerate the S curve, let's actually move this. The tibia, that's your shin bone. So the S curve will now come all the way like this, and then back out like that, and then back here. So it's kind of doing this. It's like a double S curve almost. Okay, we'll really exaggerate it. Some people, they've got their tibias curved quite a bit actually. So let's do that, why not? Just to really exaggerate that. And then the tibia as well is also curved this way. So it's a C curve like that. Maybe not too much, so there should be fine. And again, this part here is higher and the inside is lower. Okay, that should be fine. And let's see here a little bit. And the thing with male thighs is that they're actually quite close. Females have a little bit of a gap. Right, they do give birth, so that would make sense. But this is a crocodile, and their legs are like here somewhere, right? So we don't have to worry too much about the male-female difference in this one. Okay, that should be fine for that one, and I think for the most part we're on track. We don't have too much going on here. For the original reference here, what we can see is that, so yeah, you'll notice it kind of curves up a little bit and then it comes down. With my one, it curves up by quite a bit and then comes down. So I do kind of like my one a little bit more, just in terms of what it's doing. So we'll do that, right, like that, and then that should be fine. Okay, that should be good enough. But yeah, I think we have pretty much most of what we need. Not too much really in terms of correction and proportions. I think for the most part, we're kind of where we need to be. So yeah, next let's work on the loincloth. So let's move this back here and make this one smaller again. So back there, and this one. Okay, so for the loincloth, what we're going to do again is we're going to make use of duplications. So we're going to duplicate the torso, right, the head torso. We're going to press Ctrl-Shift-D or duplicate, which is down here. Okay, head torso is there. Go into solo mode. Let's rename this to the cloth. Okay, and let's get the shape on here. So should be around about there like that, and we'll get the whole thing, right? So that much, and let's actually get the shape in. So let's go to our mask pen, BMP I think is that, or BMK. Okay, let's Control Alt and let's do that, and let's actually go to the mask lasso, Control Alt, and let's do this just so we get a lot of it at once. Okay, so mask pen, Control Alt. So basically just using this geometry to kind of get that back. Okay, so something like that. It doesn't have to be too exact. So somewhere there, and then we're going to press Shift F. Then we're going to press Control Shift E. Okay, that is going to slice across where we masked. Okay, it's going to give him a speedo here, and we're going to press Control Shift click on that. Again, you want to zoom in and make sure on a polygon. You can see it says poly. There it says point. There it says edge. You don't want the edge because that'll happen. So you want the poly or the point. Right, that'll give this to us separately. We can then go to delete hidden. Okay, that's pretty good. Next one, go to shortcut menu 3. Okay, so shortcut menu 3, or we can go down to ZRemesher, which is under geometry, ZRemesher, and then we're going to click on half and then ZRemesher. Okay, so you can see it's really creating some really nice topology for us here. So again, shortcut menu 3, and then we're going to go to ZRemesher, make sure it's on half. Okay, we're going to keep halving that. So maybe undo that, so around about here. So we got about 500 points, so that should be good enough. Okay, next one, get out of solo mode, and obviously this should be down, so we're going to move this down, switch on symmetry. Okay, so that should be around about here maybe. So I'm going to scale that way, and let's use the move brush and just move this. A pretty big move brush here, right? And we can just move this here. Let's smooth that out a little bit actually. Can smooth this out as well. Let's push that in and then pull this out here. Keeping it pretty simple here, and let's actually get out of solo mode. And let's just pull this piece out here a little bit. And I forgot to put on symmetry, so I'm going to mirror and then mirror and weld. Okay, I'm going to put on symmetry. And if you get something like this happening, we can always ZRemesh. So make sure it's the same and then click on ZRemesh. Okay, that'll sort that out for us. Let's get out of solo mode so we can see what we're doing here. Let's just pull this out a little bit. Okay, so I'm holding down Alt and then clicking and dragging with the move brush. Okay, yeah, let's make sure that this actually hugs his back. Okay, and so here what I did is I made it kind of slouch down, so it's kind of hanging off of his stomach here, and then on his back it's over here. So there's a bit of an angle. Okay, and let's make sure it's actually on his back there. Okay, we can just smooth that out a little bit. And let's just, this piece here is kind of bothering me, so I'm just going to go to solo mode and just move this with a small move brush and just move it out here. And move it back in, so it's kind of in line, so like that. Okay, now I'm just going to move this into place. Okay, so that should be good enough for now. What we're going to do next is we're going to press D for dynamics. We're going to press yes. We're going to go to our shortcut menu 3. We're going to crease that, and we're going to make sure the thickness is up by quite a bit. Okay, maybe not that much. So bring down, not the resolution, the thickness. Okay, again, thickness is under. So we've got crease, which is here, and then geometry, and then dynamic. Right, so dynamic is here. And we've got thickness over here, right? But shortcut menu 2, and we want to go to post subdivision, make sure that's off. Go to crease level of 2 and smooth subdivision of 4 maybe. Okay, now if I press Shift F, you can see it's a little bit smoother there. Okay, so we can kind of move this into place, and I mistakenly clicked on that, so I'm going to go to preferences and config. And then restore custom UI, just because I'd messed up my move brush there. Okay, let's just move things into place. And now we're just using dynamic geometry. It's not real geometry. We will make it real in a second, but not right now. Alright, so next we're going to kind of kick things into hyperdrive here and then just start detailing areas. So the legs, I'm pretty sure we don't really need to go too much with them. Like, I'm probably going to just leave it where it is right now. Maybe just a little bit of the standard brush here. And so just a little bit of a standard brush here, right, just to get those shins in there. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to go too much. I mean, usually when you're sculpting, they want to kind of define these kneecaps, right, and the shins, or not the shins, the calves, right. But again, I'm not trying for ultra detail here, so I think that's about it for the legs. We're not really going to go too far with it. Probably leave it about there, actually. Maybe we'll just make a little bit of a divot here, or an extrusion for the ankle bones, like the malleoli. And yeah, that's about it. I'm not going to go too far with it, like I said. That's probably it. That's as far as we're going to go with that. Okay, let's alt click on this and then move it to around about there, maybe. Kind of want them to look, you know, a little bit comical, so maybe let's flatten them a little bit. Bring that up. And let's go into the solo mode, Shift F, and let's go to move. Kind of bring these in a little bit here. Right, just like you would for an actual heel, and then bring that in, or out like that, and then in like this. Kind of like that. And these are pretty much like very simple, right? That's basically as simple as I want to go for that. And maybe we can lift this up a little bit. So like that. Maybe like that and like that. And I'm gonna press D. I'm gonna press yes. And we don't want that, so we're gonna go to shortcut menu 3. We're gonna go to crease. And we're gonna go to crease level, bring that down to 1. Actually bring that down to 2. And smooth subdiv of 3. Let's press Shift F, and yeah, I think that's good enough. Again, not really something we want too much attention to anyway, so it should be good enough. So like that. And that is it for the feet, pretty much done. And maybe just a little bit of a heel there for him, right? Kind of like that, and that's it. We're not going to go any further with that because in the original sculpt we don't actually see his feet, so... And also if you look at the full picture, you can see this guy's feet just poking through here a little bit, right there and right here. That is how simple it is, okay? Just a little bit of divisions here and there, but we're not going to do that. So that is it for the legs and the feet. So the lower body is now done. Let's move on to the arms really quickly here. Let's get in that little fold that we see. Okay, we're using the clay build-up here. Okay, and we're getting a little bit more resolution here, so let's bump it up to 600, 700 maybe. Okay, that should be fine. Let's go for the damn standard, and that's very intense. Let's go down to 8 maybe. Let's get in a little bit of definition for the arms here, just a little bit. So those are the, let's get the flexes in here. Okay, there, we got a little bit of that, and that's about it. Like I said, I don't want too much definition for these areas. Okay, this area should be a little bit higher, so higher like that, lower like this, okay. But very subtle, obviously. Go into solo mode. Let's have a look at it from this angle, see what we get, and I have groups on. I'm going to switch it off and re-dynamish that. This should swing kind of from here. Just going to bring it down here a little bit. It's kind of swinging from one area, so here the back basically, and then swinging over to the front. Again, I'm not trying for hyper-realism here, hyper details. Okay, a little bit of the biceps, Again, just trying to hint at them. Got a little bit of the triceps here. Okay, just a little bit, like I said, a hint. And just a hint there, and that is it. I don't want to go over the top. Make things too bumpy here. So let's be careful with that. Yeah, I think that's about it. So let's just move this a little bit. Okay, I just kind of wanted to taper down. You can see there's a little bit of a wine glass shape here, and then that's kind of like the end there. Then it tapers back out again by the wrist. Okay, so let's actually do that. Just gonna undo that actually, and then pull this out like this. So tapering in and then tapering back out again over here. Which is kind of how your wrist works in reality, so that should be fine. Again, try not to bring too much anatomy into this, but that is kind of inevitable anyway. It's just how it works. You can see me smoothing things out just to really knock it back. So the anatomy is there, it's like, oh, okay, you know, there's a little bit of anatomy there, but it's not really taking over. We're not trying to build anything too complex. It's mainly the shapes and the forms that we're worried about, and not the anatomy, which at the end of the day is just shapes and forms anyway. Okay, so that is it for the arm, basically. Kind of done with that. So let's move on to the main course here, which would be the face, the body, and the hands as well. Pretty much done with that. We know where everything goes and how it looks, what it looks like. We just need to refine the shapes. So same thing, yeah, not too much detail. It's going solo mode. Not too much detail, and we can get to 700 resolutions. We've got about 250,000 points. Not bad. Okay, so let's... I think for the most part this is good. I want to have that sag down a little bit there, so we can use the move brush here. And I think I don't have symmetry on here. So I'm going to mirror and wild that. And let's put symmetry on. Symmetry on with this, yeah, that's fine. So that's why mirror and wild is very helpful, because sometimes you just forget about symmetry. It's one of those things. Okay, and let's have the clay build up here. Just push this in a little bit more, because okay, and a little bit of the shoulder here. Okay, and let's use the standard brush here just to define this a little bit more. So right now you see we start using the standard brush a little bit more and the clay build-up a little bit less. Okay, we can push in here a little bit with the standard brush. Let's re-dynamesh that. Okay, that should be good enough for that. I'm not going to try and put too much detail here. And I put in a little bit more detail for the paid version. But for here, you kind of get where we're going, what we're doing. So yeah, this kind of separates and then it merges to one piece here, which is what I want. So let's do that. It's a little bit of a ridge here on his back, on his head. So maybe not that much. I'm going to undo that. So there. So yeah, that's not too bad. Okay, I think for the most part we're done there. We just need a little bit of detail here and there. If you want to, you can definitely go in and do that. Don't do that now, that's not really the state we're at. Pretty close to the detail phase, but let's just sort these areas out here. Okay, that should be fine, and... okay, let's actually move on to the face. So we're going to start to detail this area just a little bit more, because I think we've got most of what we need. And people are really going to be looking at the face anyway, so let's have a look at that. And this ridge is a little bit much here, actually, now I look at it, so I'm just going to bring it down a little bit. Just massage that into place. You can see I'm being very gentle with my move brush. When you go to higher resolutions, right, so the more points you have, you want to be a little bit more careful with your move brush. You don't just want to like stab and right, with your movements. You just want to kind of massage it into place. Okay, maybe with the arms we'll just move these, alt click, so W, alt click, and let's move this a little bit there. And the arms, the hands will move it a little bit forward, and the thumb as well. So we'll move the thumb as well. Okay, so back to our guy here, and let's get done with the face next. So the eyes, and just a little bit of the creasing here, and the mouth as well. Okay, so just a little bit of detailing there to go, and we're pretty much done, so not too bad. So let's move this here as well. Gonna alt click and drag out so it moves this. Okay, and we can kind of move this down a little bit as well. We just want to hide the fact that we've got the separation of the legs there. Okay, so on with the face, and let's get on with it. So what we're gonna do here is actually just get in some of these definition right for the nose. And let's maybe use the dam standard here, and so we kind of bent it a little bit. So this way, it's actually pretty flat there, you'll see, but obviously I made the choice to not do that. Let's alt click and drag here just to get that diamond shape for the nose. Okay, and here just to define these edges as well. So around about here, alt clicking and dragging. Just so we know that that is the edge. Okay, let's push in here a little bit. Okay, let's get the standard brush and bump out this area like we were doing. And let's maybe have it come out here. Kind of going in this way actually, so like that. Well, maybe not that much, let's undo that. So around about there maybe. It's kind of a subtle change. Here, same thing, just with the dam standard. Okay, let's actually work on these eyes next, and just trying to get in some of these. There's a little bit of a kind of goes in and comes back out, so let's just have a look at that. Let's actually first get these eyelids in here, just so we kind of have something to work from. Okay, so for the top and the bottom. Okay, let's just save this as well. Let's not forget about that. Okay, so now let's add next we're gonna add the horns, and there's still a little bit of the detail actually, so we can get that done next. Alright, so zipping along here, and we're pretty much done with the head. Just a few things here and there to sort out, but for the most part we are pretty much done. So let's move on to the horns here and the tusks. So let's get those in. So we're going to go back to our sub tool and let's open that menu, or the folder rather. And just below the head torso, we want to go to insert, not append, but insert. And let's go to I think we can use, let's go cylinder. Okay, so you can have a look at this size of this, right? So the cylinder is now a lot bigger than our model. Okay, let's scale that down and move that up. So around about there should be fine. Make sure we actually have symmetry on, so press X. Okay, next one go to Dynamesh, and that is obviously too low, so let's go to about 200 maybe. That should be fine. So let's use the move brush, and maybe just a little bit more, so 400. Yeah, that should be fine. So let's just create a very basic shape here and just get that in. Okay, not too sharp, and let's go a little bit higher. It's about 800. That is definitely perfect for what we need. Let's go to the damn standard next, and let's hold down Alt and click and drag just to give it a little bit of a sharp end here. You can see we're really moving a lot quicker than we were at the beginning, and let's move that. Just kind of get a little bit of width on this. And remember to check this from all angles. Don't just work on one side and assume that that is okay. Okay, we can move this down a little bit because the first one it's kind of in line with this piece. So let's line up here maybe. And it's quite shallow, and then we can hold down Control. Actually, first let's rename this to the horns. Okay. And that's misspelled, but that's okay. We can hold down Control with the gizmo active and then click and drag. Okay, and then that will create a duplicate. I'm still holding down Control, by the way. If you let go of Control, it'll stop there. And if you keep doing this, it'll create duplicates within the same sort of distance. Okay, so you can see even though I'm dragging it this way, it's creating duplicates and it's still the same distance. That's actually very useful, by the way. But we won't do that. We'll just hold down Control, click and drag, and then let go of Control. Okay, let's just push this one down here. We can just scale that a little bit, and you can see I'm using a duplicate. I'm not recreating the same shape. And even though it's a duplicate, we can make it look quite different. In this case, we don't want it to be too different, but we definitely don't want it to be too big either. So let's bring it down there, and let's scale this up a little bit and rotate that, and then we will go to Auto Group. Okay, so if I Shift F, right, you'll notice that these are two different polygroups here, and Auto Group is under polygroups and then Auto Group, and this will just auto group these. Okay, it'll make them a different color. It's actually pretty useful, and I do that actually quite often. So shortcut menu 2 and then Auto Group. Okay, and then or polygroups and then Auto Group. Okay, so next let's press W and Control click on the smaller one, and you'll notice if I press Shift F, that one is now unmasked and this one is masked. So we can Control click and drag again and move this one and just shape that up a little bit. So this one should come here. It's pretty small as well, and we can just shape this one up just a little bit, and not too much of a difference with this one. Maybe make it a little bit more shallow, so around about there. Okay, and we want groups on for our Dynamesh. We want the resolution to be about 1000, and we want to auto group that one more time. Okay, so that is that. Let's move on to our alt click on our head, and because this is coming out of the body, we want a little bit of just a hint that that's actually coming out of the body. Okay, so what we're going to do is just use a little bit of the standard brush and just bump out these areas around, just to show that the skin, it's kind of coming out of the skin. It's not just randomly placed there. So something like that. So people can kind of see that, oh, okay, it's growing out of there. If you look at actual animals, there's usually some sort of area around the tusk to suggest that there's a base, or for the teeth, for example. So right, so for our teeth, you can see the root. Well, you can't see the root obviously, but you can see the flesh is pushed out from where the tooth sets in. So, and that's a bad example. So like elephants or rhinos are a good example. Right on the tip, you can see there's something coming out. It's not just randomly placed there, okay? So that is that. Let's take this piece here and let's actually duplicate it. So we're going to press Ctrl-Shift-D in this case. So Ctrl-Shift-D, that will duplicate it and create a separate subtool. If we just duplicate it like this, so Control, click and drag, you'll notice it's on the same tool. So if I just move this around here, and that's not really working, but the icon, the thumbnail will change eventually anyway, but that will do that. So I am just going to move this here, not like that, like that, and I'm just going to Control Shift click and drag, and I want to delete that. Okay, and by the way, if you don't select the whole thing, so if you select like that much, you can press Control Shift A to grow everything that you've selected. Okay, that's pretty useful. So we're going to delete hidden. We are going to switch off symmetry. We're going to move this to the side here, switch symmetry back on, Alt click on this, and let's move this tusk over here, and let's actually call it tusks. Okay, so like that, and let's reset that and move this here, tilt it a little bit, move that towards the end there. Okay, and let's just move things into place. Okay, let's put on local symmetry and not that. By the way, if you alt click on something, it'll open up the menu. So in case you're wondering where the menu is, you can always alt click on it and it'll tell you it's to transform. So you can say transform. Oh, here you go, transform. Oh, okay, so that's over here. So if you're ever wondering, should have told us that in the beginning, but anyway, so that's there. So let's click on local symmetry and we can make this a little bit smaller and we can just kind of shape this, place this into place here. Okay, let's Control, click and drag for this little tusk over here, and it's actually quite small. So it's in between these two bumps here, and that's where I'll put it in. Alright, so we are coming up on the 3-hour mark, and not bad for 3 hours worth of work. But we still got just a little bit more to do and we can kind of call it after that. So one thing I do want to do here is that these spikes actually, you know, they're kind of pointing up almost. And I kind of want them to point down a little bit just to kind of show that his emotion, right? He's kind of slouched over, right? He's kind of broken down and we want that to be shown throughout. Okay, look at, you know, you look at his colors, you look at his clothing, you look at his, everything about him is just saying sad and kind of broken almost. So we want that as well to be shown with pretty much everything around him, right? The colors that we use, the emotion that we use, the type of lines that we use even. So that is just kind of what you want to do there, just to convey that type of emotion and feeling. And that's why sometimes when you look at paintings, you don't realize the artist is doing that because they do it in such a subtle way with their lines. The lines can be very expressive, they can be very sad. You might say, what the heck's a sad line? But just depending on the way you use the line and the shapes, they can be themselves very expressive of emotion. So just a little bit of that here and there, and I'm not trying to go too much into composition and mark making here, but that is kind of what we're going to do here and there, not too much. Okay, and now let's actually get to the hands, and we want to start merging some of these points. Let's bring it up to about 800. We can, so it's about 89,000 points. That's not bad. And let's just try and get some of these details here. Just basically we're just kind of exaggerating what we've already been doing. We're not really trying to add anything new here. I mean, a little bit of detail, but that's about it. We're not adding any new forms or shapes rather. So we're adding a little bit of detail, but that's about it. We're not adding new forms or shapes. Okay, and let's actually merge these two. So I'm going to make sure I'm on the hands, which is above, and the thumb, which is below. If that isn't the case, you can move it around with these bent arrows. Okay, so make sure the hands are on top, the thumb is below. Go to shortcut menu 2 and merge down. It's going to tell you cannot undo this, you can press OK. And now it's all one piece. And to go to merge, you can find it under geometry, or subtool rather, subtool, and then merge. And merge down, okay. So now we're going to dynamesh this so it'll be dynameshed all together. So just like that. And we just want to smooth out these areas here, just to kind of make it less obvious that these are separated, because they're not supposed to be separated. And we can use a little bit of the clay build-up just to build up some of these areas here. Okay, next let's actually merge the arms. So we're going to make sure the arms are above the hands, and we're going to say merge down. Okay, now this is all one subtool, and we want to make sure it's around about 800. And then dynamesh that, and now this is all one piece here. Okay, we can use the standard brush just to kind of make sure that we add a little bit more to the base here of the palm. But that should be good enough. And oh yeah, before you merge it, actually make sure that you want your palm or your hand in the right direction. Okay, because moving it is a little bit of a hassle. Okay, so that's it for that piece, and we could use a little bit more detail, but like I said, we are coming up on time here, and I think we are pretty much done with that. We can add in a little bit of detail next, so kind of like the cracks and the scars on him. And after that, we're going to get in a little bit of the color, but not too much in terms of the detailing. But yeah, we are now pretty much done with this guy. That's actually not bad. And then we'll do a little bit of the loincloth as well, just to detail that a little bit more. But let's actually bust out this car here, see where he is. And yeah, that's not too bad. I think that's fine. We could maybe just move some pieces here just a little bit. And obviously I would take more time with this, but for now, because I'm just trying to get you guys into the basics here, I'm not going to worry too much about everything being completely exact. But I think that is good enough for that. Okay, and with this thumb, actually let me just use the move topological, and not really doing too great of a job here. Let's just mask off this area here, and then control click to blur that. Actually, let's mask off this whole area here and then blur that. And this here as well. Let's just move this forward. So if I alt and click, it'll point in the direction. So I can do this, and then I can just scale this up here a little bit to move it up. So around about there. Okay, then I can re-dynamesh that and then just smooth these out a little bit. Okay, and again, I'll do a little bit of a better job with these areas here. But like I said, we are coming up on time, and hands, as usual, like I say, they do take up quite a bit of time, so you just have to think about how much you're willing to allocate to them. Okay, but that is it for that, and I think next we can move on to just a little bit of the detailing, and after that we can actually get in some color, so let's do that next. Alright, and that is it for this part. I hope you guys actually learned something during this beginner series, and there is more to come. So thank you for watching this part. Like it if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember that the full tutorial is also available. And I will catch you guys on the next upload or the next video. So thanks again for watching. I will see you in the next one.